Hi everyone, it's Rebecca here from Mindstone. Thank you so much for tuning in. So this will actually be my officially my 10th video for Mindstone. I just want to start by saying thank you again to all of my supporters and everyone that's tuned in along this journey. I've received a lot of really great feedback as well as a lot of controversial feedback. And so today I wanted to share with you an experience that I had today with a particular person who shared their feedback with me. And to make long story short, I was basically told that I should forfeit my activity here on Mindstone, as well as any of my community support towards my mental health community because I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So just to make a few things clear, I've never claimed to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I don't present any of my coping strategies or anything like that from a medical standpoint, although a lot of the strategies that I do mention on this show are in fact backed by scientific proof, which I'm more than happy to reference as I will in this video. So I wanted to just mention this, not to simply just share my grievances, but also just to take note of a few very important facts. So I could have let this take my vibe really low. I could have taken this very seriously and sensitively, and it could really much killed my vibe. I might have even stopped doing these videos with that kind of feedback, maybe if I was earlier in my stage of anxiety and depression. I'm a lot stronger than that now, and one of the things that have strengthened me in the face of such feedback are a few facts. One of them involves the fact that anybody powerful or influential or anyone that's trying to make a change will usually face negative feedback. This is true from everyone from feminism to revolutionaries to prize-winning authors to politicians to celebrities. Anybody that has had any kind of power or influence generally does have both positive and negative feedback. So I just want to preface this video by saying that I appreciate both positive and negative feedback. I see it as an area for improvement. I think it could be a learning opportunity. And once again, I don't present myself to be anyone that I'm not. I've said it before that this channel is merely for peer support. Everything that I do mention on this show is something that I've experienced myself, and therefore I'm using it as a knowledge sharing platform as well as a community building platform. So that's what I want to start off this video by saying. One of the biggest things also, and this experience really inspired me to introduce the topic for this Mindstone video, which is emotional resilience. So what I mean by that is there's actually a neurobiological reaction that occurs whenever we encounter challenge or rejection or loss. And generally it affects our blood pressure as well as our blood flow. So it basically affects what's called the fear circuit. And so the amount of time that it takes for us to go from an elevated blood pressure to a baseline blood pressure is usually what researchers generally see as a way of determining how resilient someone's brain is. So really how they adapt and face their challenges. And realistically, all of us are going to go through some kind of challenge, whether it's something drastic, hopefully not, like an earthquake or a hurricane or anything like that that's out of our control, which are usually the subjects of most of these research studies on resilience. But then there's also other life struggles like job loss, moving countries, breakups, all of these kind of struggles and stressors can affect our lives. And so our measure of resilience is important to our ability to stay happy and stay healthy. One of the most important things in terms of staying healthy when it comes to chronic illness is how to adapt and be able to handle stress, as stress is one of the biggest contributors to chronic illnesses such as Alzheimer's disease and a slew of other conditions. So stress is an incredibly important factor. So what is emotional resilience? Like I said, it's a set of skills. So it doesn't have to be a personality trait. There are people who are more or less resilient than others. But like in this article that I actually found in Times Magazine called The Science of Happiness, which is this one right here. Oh, there it goes. I saw this amazing article talking about rebounding from setbacks. And they actually said that you can actually retrain your brain to be more resilient. And you can do that in a number of different ways. So like I said, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can definitely reference psychologists and psychiatrists, and I'm really happy to do so in the spirit of sharing knowledge. And that's what I love to do. This is also, like I said, it's knowledge from experts. So for example, I will be referencing Dennis Charney, who's the Dean of Icahn School of Medicine in New York, as well as Stephen Southwick, who is the professor of psychiatry at Yale. So they're actually really good friends, and they came together for a study, and they found that, like I said, resilience is a set of skills, and we can actually train our brains to become more resilient. Thank you, James. Thank you, Alvin. Thanks for tuning in. They also partnered up with Emmy Werner, who's a developmental psychologist. So she actually did a 40-year study on studying 700 children in Hawaii who all had alcoholic parents. And she found that there were a few characteristics in their lives that demonstrated their resilience and really contributed to their emotional resilience. One of them was a tight-knit community. So that's one of my goals here at Mindstone, is that we can develop a tight-knit community. I do share my experiences for those who have that shared experience, and that's really the community that I'm trying to target. And so far, I've gotten really good feedback from them. So that's a really great sign. I'm really looking forward to developing this tight-knit community that she's speaking about. Secondly, a stable role model. Also another goal that I hope to achieve through Mindstone is being a stable role model. And thirdly, a strong belief in solving problems. So this is a very big one. One of the biggest things that we can talk about is how to approach a problem. Instead of blaming ourselves and blaming other people, we seek to find solutions to our problems, which is a much healthier and happier course of action. And finally, strong support. So they've actually found research that has shown that people who have a strong support system are a lot more emotionally resilient. And they've actually found that when a subject in a study, so according to Southwick, he had a study where he put a stressor on his subject in the lab and found that whenever they had a friend in the lab with them, their blood pressure and heart rate didn't actually jump as high when their friend was in the room than when their friend was out of the room. So another really big contributor to emotional resilience there. And of course, there's another scientific director, Martin Paulus, scientific director and president of the Lurie Institute for Brain Research in Oklahoma, found that one of the biggest reasons why people with anxiety and depression are so heavily affected by rejection, loss, and stress is the fact that they do engage themselves a lot more in emotional processes that occur in the brain when it comes to fear and stress. So what do we do about our emotional resilience? How can we become more resilient? And so here are a few tips. One, develop a core set of beliefs that nothing can shake. So just like my reaction to my negative feedback, I found that I have a very strong set of beliefs where I believe that everybody should be authentic and true to themselves. I also have a very strong core belief in education. And I also have a very strong belief in, like I said, being true to yourself. So those are my core set of beliefs. You, of course, have your own. And having that core set of beliefs is one of the biggest tips on how to be emotionally resilient. If you have a strong core, you're a lot more likely to be less affected by stress, rejection, and fear than people who do not. So stay true to your beliefs. Second one, try to find meaning in whatever stressful or traumatic thing has happened. So a lot of the people that I deal with in the mental health community unfortunately have been affected by trauma. So one of the things that a lot of them have found is that they have identified themselves as survivors versus victims. And that was a huge breakthrough for them. And that has really, really contributed to their overall mental health. So good on them. Definitely a huge step to take when it comes to being emotionally resilient. One of the things that I mentioned as well, try to maintain a positive outlook. So of course, this can be very challenging when you have anxiety and depression, but definitely maintaining a positive outlook is extremely key. Take cues from someone who is especially resilient. That's pretty self-explanatory. Don't run from things that scare you, face them. So again, a lot of people in my mental health community have trauma or PTSD. One of the biggest things that experts tend to talk about in therapy is exposure therapy. So again, very challenging, but definitely very beneficial if you find that something's fearful, like crowds is a big one, transit is a big one. Just slowly but surely expose yourself in a very calculated and careful way, especially in a way that's recommended by your psychiatrist. So make sure if you're trying to try this out, make sure, as I say as a disclaimer, make sure you run this by your psychiatrist and have them counsel you through that. Be quick to reach out for support when things go haywire. So again, big importance of support. So Emmy Werner, developmental psychologist, talked about having a tight-knit community, while Stephen Southwick also mentions having a strong support. If you don't have a strong support, I hope that you can reach out to me on Mindstone. I'm definitely happy to be a support for you. And there's also many other resources. So one of the biggest ones that I know of is 310 Cope, which I can definitely... Hi, Chrissy. So nice to see you. It's been so long. So nice to actually get in touch with former instructors. Thank you so much for joining in. We're just running through a bunch of tips on emotional resilience, which is a huge contributor to positive mental health. So that's what we're running through right now. I'm just doing this really fast. I know that this has been a little bit of a longer video. Another one is learn new things as often as you can. Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you're here. Learn new things as often as you can. So one of the things that I did when I received that kind of negative feedback was I did a lot of research. And that's why I'm able to share with you all of these studies surrounding emotional resilience, because I did my research. Find an exercise regimen you'll stick to. So these have a number of different neurological effects, and they actually really do strengthen your brain as well as your body. There's a whole whack of different studies that prove this, so just look it up and you'll find a number of them. Hi, Haley. Thanks for joining in. Another one is don't beat yourself up or dwell on the past. So in the same way that they talk about how animals have fear circuits, so basically the changes in your blood pressure and heart rate when it comes to being faced with a predator, for example, in the animal kingdom, we have the same thing. So we have a fear circuit, also part of what's called an amygdala, which is a stress response. So whenever we encounter stress, we do have that kind of signal in our brain that's designed to help protect us from things that are dangerous to us. So one of the things that we do as well is we can actually tap into that fear circuit when it comes to things like rejection. So in terms of rejection or fretting over the past, just make sure you try and avoid those things and don't beat yourself up. So in other words, don't take things too personally. Taking things personally and being emotionally engaged is one of the ways that emotional resilience comes in handy. The more emotionally resilient you are, the less likely you are to engage in those emotional processes, and the less likely you are to tap into that fear circuit, which can be really detrimental to your health. So don't beat yourself up. And finally, recognize what makes you uniquely strong and own it. So like I said, I received some feedback earlier today saying that that's it, stop Mindstone, don't do it anymore, you're not qualified. And again, keep in mind, I've also received a lot of really great feedback. And so I just want to conclude this video by saying that, we all have something to offer. Just because you don't have a degree in something or, a master's in something or anything like that, everybody does have a voice and everybody does have a story, and we all have an opportunity to be advocates of what we truly believe in. It's incredibly important for us to have a core set of beliefs, and I believe that anybody has the opportunity and has the capacity to, you know, really strengthen their voice and make themselves heard. And so I will certainly, despite any kind of feedback, we'll continue to make these videos. Thank you everyone who has joined in. I hope you find it informative. Like I said, I will be continuing on with these videos. One of the things that they've actually talked about, hi Alex, one of the things that they've talked about in terms of emotional resilience as well is mindfulness, and how mindfulness is an incredible contributor to emotional resilience, which will be our next topic. So I'm very excited to tackle that one with you. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been my 10th video on Mindstone. I'm extremely excited to continue this journey on with you guys. And yeah, please keep giving me feedback. I love to hear all of it, positive, negative, neutral. I want to hear all of it. Comments, questions, I'm all ears. So have an amazing day and a great start to your week. And yeah, continue to be mindful and emotionally resilient, happy and healthy. All the best to all of you.